Please like the video and share it so that it reaches many more people and you get sawaba, or rewards from Allah. This could be a sawabe jariyah or continuous reward for you long after you are gone.
Inheritance Laws, Volume 8, Book 80, number 716762. Volume 8, Book 80, number 716. Narrated by Jabir bin Abdullah. I became sick, so Allah's Apostle and Abu Bakr came on foot to pay me a visit. When they came, I was unconscious. Allah's Apostle performed ablution and he poured over me the water of his ablution, and I came to my senses and said, O Allah's Apostle, what shall I do regarding my property? How shall I distribute it? The Prophet did not reply till the divine verses of inheritance were revealed. Volume 8, Book 80, number 717. Narrated by Abu Hurairah. Allah's Apostle said, beware of suspicion, for it is the worst of false tales, and don't look for the other's faults, and don't spy, and don't hate each other, and don't desert, cut your relations with one another. O Allah's slaves, be brothers. See Hadith number 90. Volume 8, Book 80, number 718. Narrated by Aisha. Fatima and Al-Abbas came to Abu Bakr, seeking their share from the property of Allah's Apostle, and at that time, they were asking for their land at Fadak and their share from Khaybar. Abu Bakr said to them, I have heard from Allah's Apostle saying, our property cannot be inherited, and whatever we leave is to be spent in charity, but the family of Muhammad may take their provisions from this property. Abu Bakr added, by Allah, I will not leave the procedure I saw Allah's Apostle following during his lifetime concerning this property. Therefore Fatima left Abu Bakr and did not speak to him till she died. Volume 8, Book 80, number 719. Narrated by Aisha. The Prophet said, our Apostle's property should not be inherited, and whatever we leave is to be spent in charity. Volume 8, Book 80, number 720. Narrated by Malik bin Aus. I went and entered upon Umar, his doorman. Jafar came saying, Uthman, Abdur Rahman, Az Zubair and Saad are asking your permission to see you. May I admit them? Umar said, yes. So he admitted them. Then he came again and said, may I admit Ali and Abbas? He said, yes. Abbas said, O chief of the believers, judge between me and this man, Ali. Umar said, I beseech you by Allah, by whose permission both the heaven and the earth exist, do you know that Allah's Apostle said, our, the Apostle's, property will not be inherited, and whatever we leave, after our death, is to be spent in charity. And by that Allah's Apostle meant himself. The group said, no doubt, he said so. Umar then faced Ali and Abbas and said, do you both know that Allah's Apostle said that? They replied, no doubt, he said so. Umar said, so let me talk to you about this matter. Allah favored his Apostle with something of this i.e., booty won by the Muslims at war without fighting, which he did not give to anybody else. Allah said, and what Allah gave to his Apostle, booty, to do all things. 59.6, and so that property was only for Allah's Apostle. Yet, by Allah, he neither gathered that property for himself nor withheld it from you, but he gave its income to you, and distributed it among you till there remained the present property out of which the Prophet used to spend the yearly maintenance for his family, and whatever used to remain, he used to spend it where Allah's property is spent, i.e. in charity etc. Allah's Apostle followed that throughout his life. Now I beseech you by Allah, do you know all that? They said, yes. Umar then said to Ali and Abbas, "I beseech you by Allah, do you know that?" Both of them said, "Yes." Umar added, "And when the Prophet died, Abu Bakr said, 'I am the successor of Allah's apostle,' and took charge of that property and managed it in the same way as Allah's apostle did. Then I took charge of this property for 2 years, during which I managed it as Allah's apostle and Abu Bakr did. Then you both, Ali and Abbas, came to talk to me, bearing the same claim and presenting the same case. O Abbas, you came to me asking for your share from the property of your nephew, and this man, Ali, came to me, asking for the share of his wife from the property of her father. I said, if you both wish, I will give that to you on that condition, i.e. that you would follow the way of the Prophet and Abu Bakr, and as I, Umar, have done in managing it. Now both of you seek of me a verdict other than that. Lo, by Allah, by whose permission both the heaven and the earth exist, I will not give any verdict other than that till the hour is established. If you are unable to manage it, then return it to me, and I will be sufficient to manage it on your behalf. Volume 8, Book 80, number 721. Narrated by Abu Hurairah, Allah's Apostle said, "Not even a single dinar of my property should be distributed after my deaths to my inheritors, but whatever I leave excluding the provision for my wives and my servants, should be spent in charity." Volume 8, Book 80, number 722. Narrated by Urwa, Aisha said, when Allah's Apostle died, his wives intended to send Uthman to Abu Bakr asking him for their share of the inheritance. Then, Aisha said to them, "Didn't Allah's Apostle say, 'Our, Apostles, property is not to be inherited, and whatever we leave is to be spent in charity'?" Volume 8, Book 80, number 723. Narrated by Abu Hurairah, the Prophet said, "I am more closer to the believers than their own selves, so whoever of them dies while being in debt and leaves nothing for its repayment, then we are to pay his debts on his behalf, and whoever, among the believers, dies leaving some property, then that property is for his heirs." Volume 8, Book 80, number 724. Narrated by Ibn Abbas, the Prophet said, "Give the Farid, the shares of the inheritance that are prescribed in the Quran, to those who are entitled to receive it. Then whatever remains should be given to the closest male relative of the deceased." Volume 8, Book 80, number 725. Narrated by Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas, I was stricken by an ailment that led me to the verge of death. The Prophet came to pay me a visit. I said, "O Allah's Apostle, I have much property and no heir except my single daughter. Shall I give 2/3 of my property in charity?" He said, "No." I said, "Half of it?" He said, "No." I said, "1/3 of it?" He said, "You may do so. Though 1/3 is also too much, for it is better for you to leave your offspring wealthy than to leave them poor, asking others for help. And whatever you spend, for Allah's sake, you will be rewarded for it, even for a morsel of food which you may put in the mouth of your wife." I said, "O Allah's Apostle, will I remain behind and fail to complete my emigration?" The Prophet said, "If you are left behind after me, whatever good deeds you will do for Allah's sake, that will upgrade you and raise you high. Maybe you will have long life so that some people may benefit by you and others, the enemies, be harmed by you." But Allah's Apostle felt sorry for Sa'd bin Khawla as he died in Mecca. Sufyan, A sub-narrator said that Sa'd bin Khawla was a man from the tribe of Bani Amir bin Lu'ay.